So in this video, we will be talking about climate change agreements. Agreement? Agreements, or should we put disagreement? In this module, it will be good to have some knowledge of all these meetings where the world leaders and parties gather and decide on what to do with future climate change. Can we stop that? Or there are ways or solutions to postpone them? We can't miss the first one, Kyoto Protocol 1997. Over here, there are 38 industrial nations which agreed to cut the greenhouse gas level to 5.2% by 2012. That was a few years back. Did it happen? You see, from 1997, there was only 4 years after that, to 2001, US, under the Bush administration, withdrew from it, alongside with other industrial powerhouses, Canada, Japan, and Russia. They have their own reasons. So, in the Kyoto Protocol, it was first mentioned about the idea of carbon trading scheme, which means that depending on the size of the output of your industry, of the carbon emission, you have a so-called license to emit that amount of waste. So imagine country A, has about 10,000 licenses of a certain amount of carbon emission, and he has not fully utilized all. He could sell some of these licenses to even bigger countries like country B that need some of these licenses to compensate for the higher emission. It shows that a resource could have some value, but of course some countries disagree with that and that's why they withdrew. Next, the Bali Summit in 2007. Parties there agreed to further cut greenhouse gases. A couple of years later, in the Durban platform in South Africa, 2011, here we finally have a legal binding agreement that by 2015, it should be in place such that this binding agreement should take effect by 2020, a couple of years from now. Will it happen? We will see. And further on, in the Cancun Summit 2010, it was mentioned about this Green Climate Fund, and people pledged $100 billion to it. Did it happen? People should track whether the parties who initially agreed to it really contribute to this amount of fund. And where is this money being channeled to? Who can not forget about Copenhagen Accord 2009? It was a great disaster. Although you might have seen 187 out of 192 parties pledge the limit to the global temperature increase to only 2 degrees Celsius. But there wasn't any timetable. No timetable for this plan, when it would happen. There wasn't specific action. So it's really all talk, no action. Cause for disaster. And you could recall people protesting outside, there was this gang there, people who are just against these organizations, what they're planning to do, because there's no action to them. And in fact, something happening was there were hackers on the internet that filters news, producing the first wave of fake news and preventing a lot of all these agreements from being shown to the internet. So it was so chaotic, it wasn't a good happening for the people there. And just a couple of years ago, in Paris, France, 2015, we have the Paris Agreement. Take notes agreement. So over there, it was said that we will limit to the global temperature to maximum 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level. Now with this, it has some implication. Because currently with this kind of production and output, we are producing a lot of food, for the increasing population. But with this cap, some industry could suffer. What else was being talked about is the ability to adapt to climate change as a whole nation, as a whole society, as a whole mankind, and decrease the risk and impact as you set the limit to this. So we have our daily mill running, daily kind of production by the industries, by the companies. How do we mitigate this risk and the agreement so not to affect our lifestyle. We also talk about the resilience and decreasing these threats to what we do every day. In particular, food production. Food production, because food, think of a meat, think of a growing of crops. This has issues and link towards climate. Interestingly, over here, initially this Paris Agreement was signed by everybody except for Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, Nicaragua, Uzbekistan. Just recently, in May this year, all of them signed, but still 2 countries remain unsigned. Who are they? Syria and Nicaragua. Now, in the Paris Agreement in 2015, again, it's a binding agreement that country should set their own NDC. NDC stands for Nationally Determined Contribution. How much could they contribute to the environment? So say that they set this limit and they should review it and evaluate it every 5 years. So this is pretty much some of these meetings in the world on climate change that you should be aware about.